continuing on with this two-point perspective and thinking of starting off with boxes and blocks. And to be clear, I know I say everything can be thought of as a box. I'm going to have or block. I'm going to try to have some visual aids that are not cooperating. For example, anything in sort of anything and everything in this interior scene like this, I would think of originally as in block or box form, both the objects as well as the interior and sort of an empty box for rooms. Let's see, buildings. Maybe that's obvious. Maybe it's not, but I would want to make sure I understood this whole thing as a big box, this whole thing as a big box, this and that. Cars, in a very similar fashion, can be definitely thought of originally as a box and then cutting away certain parts. Simple, we're going to be doing some beach huts, but everything here related to boxes, including the roofs that are sort of boxes chopped off. Bookshelves, I mean, I would think of this as just a series of boxes. I would also try to think of it as one large box, and hopefully I'm making the point. Coffee tables, even a lot of portrait and head drawing and figure drawing as well is it's one of my favorite guys, Ron Lemon, but a lot of head drawing and figure drawing is based on understanding boxes and how they're oriented in space, and of course then there's good old boxes too. Okay, so hopefully I've made a believer out of you from that. And I was talking about isolating things into their separate faces, their separate planes. And I'm just focusing on the vertical planes right now. I did this one. If I want to add something like this, and this is just, again, my general model, not specific to that particular reference. There's a concept that I'm going to try to sort of learn how to explain better, but in figuring out what these angles, once I've started something and I have one more angle, it can help to understand that within that the structure, the foundation, the construction lines, that there is this rectangle and an imaginary edge that would correspond with an existing edge that would be the same height and therefore create just a rectangle. But I'm going to imagine that this is actually a little bit bigger. The angles, it still holds true for the angles. So if the next face of this box that I'm drawing was this one, I'm going to go back to the same ideas that I was using for the first vertical plane. And indeed, now I know that, if you remember that I know that this edge, that all these edges, I know are in reality the same height, but the further away they appear because of drawing, the shorter they will appear. And so for the first one, I made sure that this closest one was going to be the tallest, and indeed that one was a little bit shorter. And now this is going to be the furthest one away because this point is the highest up, and this is all below eye level. That was a lot of things, but now I want to make sure that indeed this edge is in fact a little bit taller than this one, and it's a little smudged up here, but that is important as well, and something that is true for this particular plane going this way. I'm going to say this is going left and away. Left and away, or I like to call them on the team of la-las. This being right and away, and those are the rah-rahs. And yes, I can be goofy. We'll get to the other ones. But just as I did with this first one, I'm going to think about how could I simplify this plane with these wacky angles, and how could I think of that in just a purely rectangular, two-dimensional fashion. So once again, I'm going to, just thinking about this plan, I'm going to look at the highest point and the lowest point, and then create this bounding frame around that. And it's going to help me in several ways. I'm going to be able to figure out that specific rectangle, the proportion of that one, and I'm also going to be able to, it's also helping me understand how it relates to the original rectangle. So knowing this sort of thing is also greatly helpful, because I can keep breaking it down into the idea of R's and 7's and individual letter L, or overall letter L's, overall J, individual J, and that's true for any of these. So that helps. And like I said over here, just the idea of thinking this could be a some sort of an object, and it's not really looking like a foot to me, but maybe it's a slice of pie at this point, or maybe something else that I can't sort of think of right now, but hopefully you can. So those are all great ways to be identifying where things are. It is also going to help me to understand this negative triangle, which I think I already pointed out, but it's also going to help me understand the relationship between this point and this point, and indeed that this one is higher. And in fact, this entire shape that's made up of a triangle like that, a triangle something like that, is something that I can break down additionally as well, and check with my drawing to see how close I'm getting, and I could tell from just something like that that this line is way too far. Because the distance between be something more like that. So I can spend time figuring that stuff out as well. And so that's just another helpful way. I eventually probably do something similar with this one. I'm going to also just draw in this horizontal. I'm going to wait to do the top plane for a different video, but that's the same idea as this one, this plane. So in trying to draw this one, I'd have a much more sporting chance of getting the proportions somewhat accurate at first, as well as the angles. Etc. So once again, that's not in proportion with the others, I know, but like I say, this is going to help me figure that out. Okay, that's it for this second vertical plane. But check that out as well. Go draw that stuff a bunch of times. Okay.